don't know any of those. I know eggplant.
Aubergine and eggplants are the same thing.
I know of it as
and courgette and zucchini. We call them zucchinis. They call them courgettes. You call them zucchinis.
Who's they?
The Brits and Australians call them zucchinis.
You guys are weird.
No, we call them courgettes. No, the British call them courgettes. I think Australia calls them zucchinis. It's been so long.
You know which one you guys doesn't make sense to me in Australia is capsicum.
Capsicum.
You know
and
that?
Bell pepper?
peppers. Yeah, bell peppers. Because pepper means hot.
But you shorten everything in Australia. You make a little I or an E or a Y on the end, and you're shortening it.
Yeah, you gotta get yourself a cappy, man, on your schnitzel. Get a cappy. Get a cappy with your zookies and your eggies, eggy plants. Yeah, no. So everyone, the Moist Tour. The Moist Tour is coming. The Moist Tour. A lot of people have been asking, why did I call it the Moist Tour? Because I think that tour names are stupid. And I thought, you say the word cunt so much in your career that it's lost all meaning. And I Googled, what's the most offensive word in the English language? Number 1, moist. And you can put it on a poster. So I put it on there. Now, if you don't
More than motherfucker.
Yeah, it's the number 1 word that upsets people. Now, if you don't like the word moist, don't worry about it. I don't have any jokes regarding the word moist. I'm not going to say the word moist. There's a small chance there will be a backdrop that says the word moist in large letters.
A small or a large chance?
A small chance there's a large backdrop.
You shouldn't even have the words. You should just have like a wet towel, like a moist.
Yeah, I'm just going to
have all of the chairs are lightly soaked.
Yeah. The background is going to be cake and like damp towels. And women who slightly like me.
Yeah, and when they're walking into the theater, it'll like squish a little, like.
Yeah. The whole place is going to feel like New Orleans a year after Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah, that would be
to any of our people out there in Hurricane Katrina in Hurricane Katrina, I know it was New Orleans. Hurricane Katrina was the thing that did. Sorry about what happened.
It hit Florida as well, just so you know.
Oh, it hit Florida?
Yeah.
So to all the people at New Orleans, sorry what happened. What do you got for us, Jack?
We're going to revisit the game You Don't Know Jack, where I ask personal questions about myself to see if anybody knows anything about me.
Oh,
what
you don't know Jack.
Last time, I think I got a little bit too specific, so I went a little broader this time.
That's a good idea.
Were you sad about how little we knew about you?
Yes.
Yeah, but you can't ask us the first
He's
place
like,
you
what
got
was my
drunk.
birth weight? And we're like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what your birth
I don't know my
day
birth
is.
weight.
Why would I know your birth weight?
Yeah.
All right, so our 3 categories today. First one is Who Said It, which were insults that said to me, and you guys have to pick who said it.
Everyone in the schoolyard.
We're not there yet.
Everyone at work.
Then injuries.
Wait. Is this the same board? It looks a little jankier.
It's the same board, just different categories.
Okay. Got it.
And then the last one are drink orders.
Drink. These are orders of drinks?
Now you have the floor.
Wait, what are drink orders?
Before we talk about this,
you'll know when the questions come.
Okay,
Jack had a big night out this week, and he said, because I was going to do a show, and sometimes Jack comes along to my shows, and he goes, I can't go out. I've got a big night out, right? Now, a young man of his age, you think you'd be going where the pussy is. Or you'd be hanging out with your friends in some type of rock club, listening to some tunes, seeing a band or something like that, right?
Close to that.
But Jack and his friends all go in a group to the Universal City Walk, Margaritaville.
Mm-hmm.
It just reopened.
Oh, yeah, they've been waiting.
We told the waiter that, and he gave us a discount. It was awesome.
They give you a blender of drinks, he tells me.
Yeah.
Blender of drinks.
On Sunday at the barbecue, I go, how was Margaritaville? He goes, good, we got so drunk.
He goes, good, we get so, and he's like, I'm like, well, is there any women there? Not my age.
Not my age.
There are a lot of parrot heads.
They're all retired.
old parrot heads.
Yeah, but even if you went to one that was sort of like downtown or something like that, the one at Universal City Walk has got to be just...
I don't think there's young women hanging out at Margaritaville.
I know, but just couples in Harry Potter outfits.
I must say, there was an hour wait for Margaritaville. They only had
You
about
went to
10 tables
Margaritaville
operating.
and waited an hour for it?
Wait a
Look,
minute.
Universal City Walk, you could kill so much time there.
I'll tell you something that women like. I don't know why they like it, but they love it. If you can jump a queue and get into a restaurant quicker or get into a nightclub when everyone's lined up, and that's at a nice place. If you can't jump the queue at Margaritaville,
I was able to get us in 20 minutes earlier, but it was a party of 12, so it was difficult.
Oh, no, that's good. How did you get you in 20 minutes? Did you
You done this
I
podcast?
came back early. I came back earlier,
No,
like 20 minutes early, and they're like, "Oh, is this the 12 party?" Go, yeah. All right, you guys can come.
Because because we were working for NBC on the NBC pilot, that never happened in the end. But all good. NBC were very nice to us while we were there and everything. NBC gave me and Jack. We had on-site passes,
proper badges.
We had parking things that go on your resume that were all
yeah.
sparkly and embossed and all that type of stuff. They had holograms on them to make sure they weren't fake. And Jack texts me when he gets to Margaritaville, and this was the text. Yeah, those parking passes no longer work.
Found out the hard way because you could get free employee parking at the theme park.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we went in. I was like, I don't know. And then the entrance looked wrong. I was like, this is going to be bad. It doesn't work. And then there's a line of employees trying to get to work. And luckily, a guy who operates the Jurassic World ride came up behind us and goes, "What's wrong, guys?" He goes, "The pass isn't working." He goes, "No worries," and buzzes us in. So we still got in for free. But
Okay, so you don't know Jack. Let's play this game here. That was a good
all right,
story.
Forrest, you're on the.
The answer is Margaritaville.
Yeah.
Oh.
Who said it for 600?
Oh, who said it for 600? Okay. Who said I personally liked when you looked like a lesbian? Kelly.
Me.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
yeah, Kelly
Wait, I
said
forgot.
that.
We have to hang.
That's
bang,
600 points
we
for
have to
you.
buzz in by banging the table.
Okay, all right, okay.
Okay.
Is that how
Kelly
we
has
buzz
the floor?
in?
Yep.
You're gonna scare Arnie the whole time. It's fine.
I'm gonna go drink orders for 600.
Okay. Drink orders for 600. What drink does Jack drink often that always makes him have diarrhea?
What is milk?
Yes.
All right. All right.
Jim, you have the floor.
I'm going to go injuries for 600.
Injuries for 600.
Are you
Okay.
keeping score of how much money
You
we're
guys
looking?
need to remember.
I got $400.
Yeah, you got
Okay.
600.
600.
I'm buzzing in.
Okay. What broke Jack's nose in
I'm not
second
trying to
grade?
bang the table. It's bothering. All of Arnie's training is out the window.
Sorry.
That's okay.
You buzzed in.
What broke? Oh, I thought this was who.
What broke Jack's nose in second grade?
Oh, his confidence.
Yeah.
Nope.
I know the answer. I know the answer. The answer. All the other kids.
No.
His
Any
mother.
other- No. Anybody else?
Pedophile's dick.
No. No. None of these happened.
You guys are losing all your money.
You guys are like negative $1 million at this point.
That's why I'm not guessing.
It was a baseball. A baseball.
Oh, poor Jack. But you
I
know
guess-
what you should have done is you should have waited for the who said it category to say what we say now. Like number 400 should be like who said a pedophile's dick broke my
You know
nose.
what? Next time we do this game, we'll pull all the insults from this and put it back in. Okay.
It's still Jim's.
Yeah, it's just
board.
Jim
Oh,
stows
yeah,
the
yeah,
board.
no,
I don't know
no,
how
no.
many points you've lost at this
I'm
point.
minus a lot,
He's
but
negative 600.
I had some good answers though. I would go injuries for 600.
We just did that
Oh,
one.
injuries for 400.
Okay, injuries. Oh, daily double. Okay.
I'm going to gamble it all.
Okay, gamble
You
it
don't
all.
have anything.
You're
Yeah, but I'm
You're
only going
negative.
$2,000.
Okay.
Okay, why did Jack have to have a colonoscopy at 12?
I like how these are your broader questions.
I've
The other ones were
definitely
too
mentioned
specific.
this one a lot. I've
Okay.
mentioned this one a lot.
Pedophile's dick.
No,
I think he swallowed a Lego.
that he did call it a colonoscopy.
No. So what happened? You had a colonoscopy.
We're supposed to be answering.
And so no. So you would yeah. I think Lego is a good bet. I think
something.
no. I'm going to think premature hemorrhoids.
No.
Hmm.
Kelly, did you have any?
No.
No?
I was gonna.
I
It's a
had
daily
a,
double. It's only Jim can answer.
oh, okay. I had a parasite.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
I almost died.
yeah,
Yeah.
I do remember you
Yeah.
talking about that a lot.
I threw up for 6 months straight because
yeah,
of a parasite.
you mentioned that at least
Yeah.
4,000 times. since I've known
Also,
you.
it's the most company he's ever had.
Yeah. I know. Academy Award
Well,
winner.
we keep getting the questions wrong, but Jim, I guess, still gets to keep going.
Who said for $200?
Okay. Who said Jack hasn't gained any knowledge from working on the show? The only thing he's gained is weight.
That would be
Sounds
me.
like Jim.
That's
yeah.
correct. You got it.
I don't remember.
you got to
saying
ring it.
it.
Doesn't that
I
take in
guess
the
if you
form of a
just,
question?
I guess, oh yeah.
No,
Who
no.
is Jim?
Being, what is me?
Who is me?
Correct.
Who am I?
All right, Jim, you have the board?
I'm guessing I'm
I
$400.
don't remember saying that to Jack. I just knew it was my phrasing.
Yeah. It definitely sounds like something you
I
would say.
remember
Who
you
said
it.
it 600?
No, we already
400.
Who said it
400?
400?
Okay,
Ding,
who
ding,
said
ding.
Jim.
No,
Jim
me.
Forrest.
What is
Me.
Forrest?
I
What is
did-
Forrest?
I
What is
did
Forrest?
already.
Forrest?
I
Ding, ding,
dinged in
Forrest.
already.
What's
It's
your
me.
answer?
It's me.
That's correct. Forrest always says everyone hates you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I say
yeah,
that
that's
to
a
everyone
normal
now.
one.
I say that to
If
everyone.
Forrest says something nasty and there's no one in the room to hear it, does it really make a sound?
Yes.
Okay, so we have Forrest. You have the board. There's injuries for 200 and drink orders
Drink orders
for
for
200.
400.
Drink orders
or
for
200. For
200? Which one do you
200.
want?
Yeah, 400.
400. Okay, here we go. What's Jack's go-to
Ding,
alcohol?
ding, ding.
Okay.
Hand sanitizer.
Screwdriver.
That's so correct.
Yeah. I was gonna say
Kelly, you spoke
margarita,
out
but
of turn.
Kelly
That's your
gave
fault.
it
That's your
to
fault.
But I didn't want to do ding. I thought we were just gonna say it out.
I like a screwdriver too.
Drink orders for 200.
Okay, drink orders for 200. What's Jack's Starbucks
Ding.
order? Ooh, okay.
Puppuccino.
Ooh, what's in a puppuccino?
Just whipped cream and a
ding,
Coke.
ding, 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 ding.
Cake pop.
No.
Ding. Jack doesn't drink Starbucks.
Hot chocolate.
Ding.
Hot chocolate.
Ding.
Hot chocolate and
Yeah,
screwdrivers.
that's basically what I meant.
That's
Jack
the
doesn't drink
biography.
coffee.
Hot chocolate and screwdrivers.
What? There's only one left,
Only one
right?
left. I guess it goes to Forrest. Do you want to
Injury?
do injuries for 200?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. How did Jack accidentally slit his wrist when he was 3?
Ding.
Ding, it wasn't an accident. Depressed.
Oh, and you over dinged his ding.
Same answer.
Okay, no, both ding.
Pedophile's dick.
No, no false dick involved.
Wow.
I was trying to get a VHS out of a VHS case and slit my wrist by accident.
That's
What
the oldest
the
one.
fuck? You cut your wrist on a blockbuster fucking case and you didn't
Yeah, I
make the
did.
documentary?
Yeah, the paramedics game was horrible. I almost died.
The paramedics came and then like they showed up and then like your mother went, he did rewind it though.
He was such a good
Wow.
boy.
So we know
This
nothing
makes
about
us
you.
to the final jack off.
Yay!
Jack-off.
This is where you can wager all the money. Pretty much, this is whoever gets this one right.
Yeah,
Wins it all.
I'd like
Yeah.
to go all in there,
But basically,
please.
you're gonna have some time to think. Okay.
Okay.
Now, because right after this podcast, I'm getting my hair cut. So you guys, this is your last chance to have your
Oh.
greatest Dave Grohl insult. And so I'll give you some time to think. Luis is gonna help me judge who the winner is.
Oh, okay.
Do 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 do. Do, 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 do,
I think we got it.
Yeah,
I think we got
okay, we got
it.
it.
Yeah.
All right, Jim, would you like to begin?
No, I haven't got one yet.
Okay, Kelly, would you like to begin?
Okay. You look like if someone tried to describe Dave Grohl to the police.
Okay, good. Luis, did you like that one?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I quite enjoyed that.
Forrest?
Dave Grohl hates you.
That's it. I like Kelly ones. I've just figured it out. It's very good.
Because the sketch drawings are never
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Luis, what did you think of that one?
I mean, I enjoyed it, but you know, Kelly's up top.
Goes up top.
If Dave Grohl thought he looked like you, he'd cut himself with a video case.
Luis?
Ah, shit, that's a good
These
one.
are good. These are good. Do we have to have a Dave Grohl off?
Is that a thing?
It is now.
No, we don't.
Vote in the comments.
Put in the comments.
No, we have to get to the ads.
Okay, we'll go to ads. Kelly wins.
Time for ads. Honey, we're going shopping. Here we are. It's Honey. Honey, I use the Honey app. They also they sponsor the Clippers. So I like the Clippers. But the Honey app, it's good. You put it on your phone. We all shop online, right? All of us, except for my dad, who we all know doesn't shop online. And we've all seen that promo code field taunt us at checkout. But thanks to Honey, manually searching for coupon codes is a thing of the past. Honey is the free shopping tool that scours the internet for promo codes and applies the best one and finds it for your cart. Honey supports over probably 300 stores or something. 30,000 stores. 30,000 stores online. They range from sites that have tech and gaming products to popular fashion brands and even food delivery. Bit of cross promotion and maybe Honey will work with it. Who knows? Imagine you're shopping at one of your favorite sites and then checkout. The Honey button drops. Boom. All you have to do is click, apply coupons. You apply coupons, wait a few seconds, and Honey searches all the coupons to find the best one for that site. If Honey has a working coupon, you just watch the prices drop. You don't have to do anything else. Honey has saved me a lot of money. I buy cat food with it. I buy me cat food, and the Honey coupon comes down, boom, discounts. If you don't already have Honey, you could be straight up missing out on savings, and it's literally free to install in seconds. See, normally I say, go and put this code in, all that type of stuff, and you'll get the savings. You'll get the savings just by getting Honey. But there is a code, and by getting it, you'll be supporting this podcast because I never recommend anything that I don't use myself. Get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/IDK. That's joinhoney.com/IDK. Thank you, Honey. Thank you for supporting the podcast. This summer, it's been easier than ever to drop our personal care routines, but with your personalized grooming kit from Hawthorne, it's easy to stay on track. Hawthorne is a premier grooming brand that tailors your personal care routine to your unique profile. First, you take the quiz. It's not a hard quiz. Don't worry, I don't like taking quizzes. You always find out, am I a Monica or a Rachel? Turns out I'm a Phoebe. So you take the quiz. They ask you things like what type of skin I have. How often do I shave? It was really simple. Girly and once a week. At the end, I got an essential bundle with all the products tailored to my body type and lifestyle. The products I got included deodorant, lotion, the chapstick. The lotion was fantastic. I'm not much of a chapstick guy. I feel like my lips become dependent, but other people like them. But the lotion I'm using every day. Hawthorne takes the risk out of shopping for personal care by giving you free shipping of your orders and returns. With their subscription options, personalized to your usage, Hawthorne makes sure you never run out of your essentials. Life is complicated. Hawthorne keeps it simple with a short study-back quiz that matches you with your perfect grooming kit. Looking your best has never been easier. Try Hawthorne's quiz today and get started on your personal self-care routine by going to hawthorne.com. Hawthorne.co. Oh, there's no com. Hawthorne.co and use the promo code IDK to get 10% off your first purchase. That's Hawthorne. HAWTHORNE.co. Use promo code IDK. Hawthorne.co. Use promo code IDK.
All right. Now let's introduce our guest, Andrew Chesworth.
And now it's time to play.
Yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. Yes, no. Judging a book by its cover.
G'day, Andrew. Thanks for being on the podcast, mate. Now I'm going to guess what you do. It's the most undescript room I have ever seen in my entire life. It's just a stripy wall and a bit of paper in the corner. So I'm going to
There's an air conditioning up there.
I'm going to say that you're an expert at Staples and you're in middle management.
Yep.
Yeah.
Staples episode.
Staples, all right.
Like
Okay.
not the actual. It's just Staples, the store.
The store. Yeah,
Anything.
of course.
What's an aisle 6, Jim?
That's printers.
Oh, okay.
I've
But
been
he was
there.
confident as hell.
The rest of it's paper, and then there's one aisle of actual staples.
Okay. That is not correct.
Okay, so Andrew,
Ask him some questions.
Andrew, I've been told that you went to school with Kelly, so I'm going to think that it's not something in the academic pursuits. Are you related to sport? Is this a sporting thing that you do?
No, but my brother is a physical therapist.
Right.
We should have him on.
Yeah.
There you go. That would be a real good podcast. Is it an intellectual endeavor?
Yes.
Okay. Is it about history?
Not really.
No, I've been doing very good.
There
at
may be some history
I've been-
involved in the episode.
We
but
might
it's not.
ask you some
Yeah.
history about the subject.
about the
but-
subject.
Yeah, maybe.
Is it related to works of fiction?
Yes.
Okay. Are you an expert in Superman?
I know a little about Superman.
That's not
Now
what
we're-
this is
now we're
about.
talking
Why
about
did you
today,
guess
though.
Superman?
Because I'd love to do an episode on Superman.
Okay, write that down, Jack. Superman. Yeah.
I love Superman. No one could beat him.
What Andrew is here to talk about today, you have been paid for, but it's not your main profession.
Oh, you're a prostitute.
You've been paid for sex?
Yeah, well.
Some people in my profession would say possibly yes.
Okay, so it's...
You've been paid for this not too far in the past.
And you'd like to do more of it.
a rebate for getting solar panels.
What? You wanna do
That's the
more of
only
that?
other paycheck I've had since I started here. So I've done a bit of acting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sort of,
Almost.
yeah, yeah.
It's not my
In
forte.
what like genre?
Musical theaters and opera.
No, recently.
Oh, that I've been paid for recently.
Yeah,
Acting.
last
that,
couple of years.
acting that I've done the last couple of
Voice
years.
work.
Oh, voiceover.
Animation.
Animation.
Andrew Chesworth is here to talk
Animation. I'm in an animated film that I haven't seen yet called
Yeah.
Extinct, which the trailer's out, but I haven't seen it. And it keeps on saying it's coming out. I'm looking forward to that. Me and Ken John's in it. And
Yeah.
I think like
Adam Devine.
Adam Devine's in it. Yeah.
I forget who else is in it now, but a lot of big names.
What's
in
her
it.
name?
Rachel Bloom.
Rachel Bloom, the very funny lady out of Schitt's Creek and all the Christopher
Catherine
Guest.
O'Hara.
Catherine O'Hara is in it.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean?
I love her. I'll have to see the movie.
So you're going to know everything about animation.
I love
then.
saying I've acted with those people. I've never met them. It's a voiceover. You do it in a room. So are you an animator, Andrew?
Well, let me introduce him properly. Andrew Chesworth was nominated for an Oscar for the animated short film One Small Step. He was an animator for Disney on Frozen, Zootopia, Moana, Big Hero 6, Wreck-It Ralph, Feast, Get a Horse, Inner Workings, and Olaf's Frozen Adventure.
Woo.
Andrew taught fourth-year character animation at Cal Arts. He has been an instructor for the online CG animation school Anim Squad. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Since 2014. Currently, Andrew is employed at Netflix as a character design supervisor on My Dad, the Bounty Hunter, and he is also directing and producing his passion project, The Brave Locomotive, through Patreon. If you can tell us a little bit more about that or anything else you'd like to tell us, then please feel free to.
Yeah, thank you so much for the intro and for having me here. The Brave Locomotive is a short film I started before I was hired at Disney as a sort of audition piece to get into Disney. And then they hired me before I finished it. And then when I was working on those feature films you listed, the job was so intensive that I shelved the project and said maybe at a later date. And then when the pandemic hit, I thought this is as good a time as any to finish that film, but I've got new perspective on maybe how I would approach it and finish it differently.
It's a shame you haven't worked on any huge movies, though.
Yeah.
What's
Frozen?
Yeah, Frozen. So my Dad, the Bounty Hunter, is this an animated thing you're doing for Netflix right now?
It is, yeah. I was invited to join the project by the showrunners, Everett Downing, who won the Oscar for a short called Hair Love last year, and Patrick Harpin, who was a story artist at Sony, who got to know Ev, and they jammed on this idea together and brought it to Netflix. And I was lucky enough to be a part of it just because they had seen my work on a film called Klaus, so they wanted some help developing the characters in 2D form before they get created in 3D.
He did Klaus too. We loved that. That's like the new Christmas movie from a couple years ago on Netflix.
Yeah, 2019. It was
So
a hand-drawn
good.
film.
You know what sounds more like an animated film than My Dad, the Bounty Hunter? Dog the Bounty Hunter.
Yeah,
Right?
it does.
That sounds like an animated film. Dog the Bounty
It's
Hunter.
a dog that's a bounty hunter.
My dog, the
My dog,
bounty
the
hunter.
bounty
That's
hunter.
right. That's right.
So pitch that.
Get on that. All right, so we're going to ask Jim some questions about animation and see what he knows or thinks he knows. And then after that, you're going to grade him 0 through 10, 10 being the best on his accuracy of this subject. And then Kelly's going to grade him on confidence. I'm going to grade him on et cetera. If you score 21 through 30 total, Winnie the Pooh. 11 through 20, poo poo platter. 0 through 10, pile of poo poo.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to be
That was my child's favorite joke when he was a kid. Like, why was Piglet looking in the toilet? He was looking for poo.
Well, you didn't put one of them as poo on a stick.
Poo on a stick. That was going to be the name of the tour, everyone.
Yeah.
We settled on moist.
All right, we'll change 11 through 20 to poo on a stick.
Okay, poo on
Poo on
a
a
stick.
stick. My agents just went, what? I went, poo on a stick.
No, Jim really pitched Andrew that we were just talking about Jim's upcoming tour as a stand-up, and he actually did pitch "Poo on a Stick" as the name of the tour.
Yeah.
It's the real thing.
I just love that they were like, no, we don't want to do Son of a Carpenter, but
Yeah,
Moist is
I wanted to call it
fine.
Son of a Carpenter. They said it was too boring. And then I went, all right, I got something for you. Poo on a stick. And they went, no. And then when they settled on Moist and they went, really no. And I go, let it sit with you for a while. And then I go, did you feel uncomfortable? They go, we did. I go, but did you remember it? And they go, we did. And so Moist it is.
All right. Okay, so animation. Let's go. Just briefly, Jim.
Yeah.
And how does animation work?
And well, what it is you do it like the old school animation is you do a drawing and then you do the drawing like stop motion animation. You do the drawing slightly different and then you can flick through the book and it looks like the characters are moving.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone does a voiceover over the top and that's how you get an animated film up and running. Now they do most of it with computers, I imagine, but you'd still have to have people sketch out the drawings on how the characters are meant to look, etc.
All right. What does the word animation mean?
Animation would mean movement. Anime would mean I would say drawing movement.
Mm-hmm. What is persistence of vision? What does that refer to?
And that's when like Stevie Wonder really tries.
Yeah, that's good.
I thought about this during the pandemic. I got the lady at the bank today. I went down to the bank today and they still make you wear the masks. Of course, it's the bank. She's deaf, the poor thing. her whole life is lip reading, and I'm there going, "I like to cash this check," and she's just like, "I've been fucked over for a year." It's not like we've all learned sign language to fucking coexist with these people. And the pandemic, it's really hurting the deaf more than anyone. Side note, next question.
Yeah, maybe she doesn't even know that it's happening. Who would have told her? What's all these people wearing masks? All animation is made up of blank.
Magic.
Okay.
No, it's all made up of moving characters.
Next question. What are frames?
Frames are the different still shots of all of these things that you can flick through.
That one would say all animation is made up of.
Made up of frames. Yeah, it's made up of frames. But even regular movie screens is frame, move through to make like we're all looking. Photo, move very, very quickly, and so we all look like we're moving. And that's the same as animation. Yeah.
How many frames can be used per second?
Oh, a lot, Forrest. I
don't think you've ever said that my name like that. Oh, let me tell you.
tell Forrest.
Sit on my lap.
Forrest, you're going to be surprised how high this number is.
Yeah, I am. Let's hear it.
20.
20.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a range or?
20 to 23.
Okay. There are 12 basic principles of animation. Name 2 of them.
The 12 principles of animation.
Easy, you got this.
No problem. The principle is always be kind. That's one.
Yeah.
Treat people as you'd like to treat yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. And it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down, you have to get back up.
Got it.
But also the principles are that
one word. But just they're
drawings,
yeah,
frames, movement.
You love
Color.
movement right now in this episode.
Try to put a couple of songs in there. Disney, kill off the mum or dad very early on. You kill off a
Dead
parent
parent.
as soon as you can. That's how you get the animation up and running. Talking animals. If the animals talk, the humans don't talk quite the same. If the people talk, the animals don't.
These are the principles of animation.
We
Dead
only needed
parents.
2. We only need 2. How does rigged animation different from traditional?
Rigged animation is different. That's like the ones like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where you have animation playing with regular folk.
Name some examples of 2D animation.
Oh,
movie.
Yeah, 2D.
Easy.
Pinocchio. Snow White.
3D. You got a couple 3D ones.
3D. Toy Story. Fucking The Incredibles.
Who was the first famous animated character? When was it?
The most famous one.
Earliest.
Who was the first?
First famous. The earliest.
It'd be a Steamboat Willie. Oh no, it'd be the one before that that had the long ears that all the hipsters wear.
Got the
down
long
at Disney.
ears?
Yeah, no. There's another one that's like not Mickey Mouse, but he's something rabbit. He's fucking Shonky Rabbit or whatever his name is.
Okay.
Monkey rabbit.
Many cartoon characters only have 4 fingers.
Yeah.
Why?
Because putting 5 fingers on an animated character looks fucking weird. You ever see when they do it? There are too many danglies, and it's just for
Too many dangles.
yeah, too many dangles. Like The Simpsons. The Simpsons are 4-fingered animals, and the thumb, so 3 fingers and a thumb, right? But it just looks for perspective or just for how it looks. It's just a visual thing.
Okay, a couple more. We'll skip. No, we'll do that. What is stop motion?
Stop motion is not drawn animation, but it's when you get like a plasticine thing and you move the arm a little bit, take a photo, move the arm a little bit, take a photo. And that's things like all those Rankin Bass Christmas specials and stuff like that are all stop motion.
What does CGI stand for?
What is it? Oh, fucking hell. I say I hate it all the time, and I don't know what it fucking means. Something cinematic graphic industries.
Yep, nailed it. What is tweening?
Tweening is when you make a cartoon for about a 13, 14-year-old.
To create slower action, would you use more frames or fewer?
That's got to be a trick question.
Only one,
So I'm
one answer or the other.
going to say more.
More frames. Okay. Let's ask a couple more questions. What was the first fully computer animated feature film?
I believe it was Toy Story. The short that they had a short from
Feature length though. Yeah.
from Pixar. They did different things, and the thing with the lamp jumping.
You know
and
what
all
year it
sorts of
was? Toy Story.
Golly. I want to say that Toy Story was 1998, the first one.
And what is the most expensive animated movie to date, and how much estimate?
Most expensive animated movie to date. I would say because of the technology that had to be used, Who Framed Roger Rabbit would be the most expensive
How
animated
much
movie.
did it cost, I think?
Oh, in today's money, I would say it was a $150 million movie.
What about in money of 1715?
Was it made in 1750?
Nah, I'm just saying.
He just wants the calculator to come
Andrew,
out.
how did Jim do in his knowledge of animation? 0 through 10. 10's the best.
I would say 5 out of 10, but if you rank some of the thinking behind the answers, you could go as high as a 7 or 8. It's just a different way of looking at the question.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
you're
that's why I
nice.
support QAnon, because
Okay.
you got to look at things differently.
We'll give him a 5.
See
All
the
right.
reality.
Kelly, how did you do on confidence?
I was gonna give you a 6 on confidence, but after the QAnon comment, you get a -5.
All right.
Negative 5, so you're at 0. But I'm going to give you 11 so you can be poo on a stick. Because you really wanted to be, because you wanted to be poo on a stick. So you're poo on a stick just for today.
Poo on a stick.
Yeah.
Cuts clothing. Fellas, the sport of business means demanding excellence from your craft and wardrobe. Your fit needs to be versatile, blending timeless style and comfort so you look as good as you feel. For that, there's Cuts Clothing. They've taken classic male fashion staples like the plain tee. They've refined it, combining premium quality and minimalistic aesthetic. Cuts shirts, polo shirts, hoodies, crew shirts are made for the man who works hard, plays hard, and never settles for less. All in the sport of business. I bought the Cuts t-shirts. Oh, they're mostly, you never felt cotton quite like them. Lovely. I have the Cuts shorts. Oh, I bloody love Cuts. I have a Cuts hoodie as well. I have the shorts. I have a t-shirt and a polo and a hoodie. But the t-shirt, I wear a lot of black t-shirts in my nose. The cotton's very good. Cuts is a premium. They're premium. Each piece of clothing is designed with custom engineered fabric, expertly graded for the perfect fit, arming you for every challenge and opportunity. It's not a lifestyle. It's not just clothing. It's an office leisure apparel for the sport of business. Get 1.5% off your first. Wait, where's the dot there? Get 15. Jesus Christ, this is a big saving. Get 15% off your first. Look, I'm only reading what they've written down here, people. I'm telling you, you better get onto this because this is obviously a typo and they want to fix it. Get 15% off your first order by going to cuts.com/IDK. That's cuts.com/IDK for 15% off the only shirt worth wearing. Cuts. Now, I know you probably look at me and you think, that's a guy who's got his mental health under control. But between me and you, it hasn't always been that strong. What with they're always watching. Is there something interfering with your happiness and preventing you from achieving your goals? I've had depression throughout my life, debilitating depression, and I got help through therapy. Go see a therapist, speak to someone. There's no shame in it. And BetterHelp will assist your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start communicating in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not a self-help. It's a professional counseling done securely online. There is a broad range of expertise available, which may not be available local in many areas. The service is available for clients worldwide. It's an ad for everybody. You go in, you log into your account anytime and send a message to your counselor. You will get a timely and thoughtful response. Plus, you can schedule weekly videos or phone sessions. So you won't ever have to sit in one of those uncomfortable waiting rooms looking at the other people going, oh, what's wrong with that fella? What's wrong with this woman? BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches so they make it easy and free to change counselors if needed. It's also more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp wants you to start living your happier life today, so visit their website and read their testimonials that are posted daily. Visit betterhelp.com/IDK. Remember to write the /IDK. That's better, H-E-L-P, and join the over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health and help with an experienced professional. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and the I Don't Know About That listeners get 10% off their first month. So go to betterhelp.com/IDK. Get your mental health good. BetterHelp.
All right. All right, Andrew, briefly, how does animation work? You can be a little bit less than brief. I just asked Jim to be brief, but he said old school animation, you do drawing slightly different, blah, blah, blah. But maybe you can tell us a little bit.
Fundamentally, animation is the illusion of movement through the playback of images sequentially. And that could be on film, it could be on a computer, it could be on a flip book. Any way that you can get rapid succession of images to utilize the persistence of vision in your eye, which is basically your brain and your eye work together to create a temporary imprint of an image. And it lasts for a fraction of a second. Depending on how much light is in the room, the persistence of vision could last for 1/30th of a second or less or more. But that's why 24 frames a second or 30 frames a second tends to look natural to the human eye.
Oh, 24 frames a second.
You're pretty
You're
close.
almost there, but you got it wrong.
Yeah, when you answered the frame rate question, that was like silent film era, where they're like hand cranking the film.
No, I'm not into these modern fandangle fucking cartoons. I like a good old school fucking Porky Pig.
Yeah.
And Porky Pig, he was rocking around at 20 frames a second. And they used to repeat the same frame over and over again. That's why you went even it like that, right? That was just they were trying to save film.
What does the word animation mean? Jim said drawing of movement. Whoa. How's that?
That was pretty good, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Is that good? Is that a good answer?
Well, I mean, conceptually, it's right. It's like images that play back to create the illusion of movement, but they don't necessarily have to be drawings. They could be photographs or computer-generated images. There's your CGI, computer-generated images.
Computer-generated images.
Yeah, it's right there in front of you. So,
Fucking computer.
Yeah, I read it says animation is literally translated from French as soul.
Yeah. Well, that's why the Disney animator said it's not just the illusion of movement, it's the illusion of life. You're trying to bring a character to life that audiences relate to, and the sooner you kill their parents, the sooner they can relate to the characters.
I didn't. Did you work on the movie Soul? I didn't remember hearing that in your credits.
I didn't work on Soul.
Oh, thank
no.
God, I didn't like Soul.
I loved it.
No, I'll tell you what was wrong with Soul. Give me a dead parent, first of all. That gives you a bit. There was no dead parent. That gives you a bit of drive.
Wasn't the dad dead?
Yeah, his dad.
Oh, his daddy was an old man.
And Up, there's no parent that dies.
Yeah, but that one was boring as well. It's, oh, my wife's died. You're old. Anyway, so the problem with Soul is everyone's going up into the middle world or heaven or wherever they were going. All the little souls were moving along. And then he's like, I haven't played enough piano. There's people who have just died and left families and little children and never got to say goodbye to their loved ones. And he's bitching and moaning that he hasn't fucking played enough jazz. Calm down. You don't deserve to be the first person to come back into the real world because you haven't played jazz. Doesn't make sense to me. Very angry with Soul.
You don't like jazz?
I don't. No, I don't.
It really comes down to that.
Oh, God, Jane.
How'd you feel about La La Land?
You know what I do? Oh, I hated
See,
La La Land.
it's a jazz thing.
And I love
jazz thing.
musicals, but La La Land drove me insane.
What about Whiplash?
I didn't like Whiplash either.
Yeah.
Really?
I didn't watch Whiplash.
Okay.
I'll tell you the truth, right? So J.K. Simmons, who was the guy in Whiplash,
Yes.
Wrote Harry Potter. too.
and he won the Oscar for Whiplash. The next scene that he did out of Whiplash was a movie that I did called Punching the Clown, and he did a scene with me, and everyone's like, he's going to win the Oscar. And I think I did say to him, I loved you in Whiplash. I still haven't seen Whiplash.
Wait, you did a movie called Punching the Clown?
Yeah, wait, what the hell is that?
Yeah,
It was-
part two with
Part two.
Is that why Tommy Caprio
with
calls
Henry-
masturbating punching the clown?
No, it's just a little.
No, it's a guy, Henry Phillips.
Henry
he
Phillips.
He
did.
really does call it that, though.
Yeah.
He says it all the
Yeah,
time.
well, that's maybe why they called the movie that after Tommy Caprio. But
Yeah.
I was just a small part in it.
So persistence of vision, you mentioned that before. It is not when Stevie Wonder really tries to see. But so what does that mean?
When
'Cause
he
you-
squints, when he squints, like,
Why would he squint? How would that help him?
like if you put like a question mark on the end of this song, isn't she lovely? Like that's because he's really trying to tell.
Okay, so Andrew, you explained that a little bit. Can you just talk about that a little bit more? Because I've heard that term before, and I guess I just never really thought about it. So
Well, it's the principle that makes animation work. It makes the illusion work because the way your eye and your brain work together to imprint those images in your mind's eye it kind of tethers them together when those imprints happen at a certain rate.
Okay. And so all animation is made up of blank. Was supposed to be frames. And what are frames? Jim said magic moving characters, frames, and moving pictures.
Frames. I always remember, like, I used to go into those like memorabilia stores, and they used to go, "We have a frame from Fantasia."
I thought it was a cell.
Yeah, they call them cells. Yeah, they had a cell. We have a cell from Fantasia, and it was this, and you're like, that must be the most valuable thing in the world. And there's fucking 24 of them a second. There's fucking loads of these cells kicking about.
Are cells and frames the same thing?
They're not. So
Okay.
playback of the film would be at 24 frames per second. So you're watching a live action film from basically the 1930s onward. It's at 24 frames a second. Every frame is a slightly different image. But in animation, to save cost in the hand-drawn days, they would do 12 drawings a second and shoot each one twice, especially if it was a slow-moving action. But if you've got Snow White walking through the forest with all the animals and the cameras panning left to right, then they would do 24 drawings a second, because otherwise you get sort of a choppy effect, and then the persistence of vision doesn't work quite as well. Something looks wrong with it.
But also,
if
the cells always had like the clear bit, so that's like you could leave Snow White in the same forest and just put cells over the top of it, right? Or are frames completely drawn and cells are partly drawn, or?
Well, the frame is just basically one frame of film going through the gate. So you open up a spool of film and you see all the frames, but the image might be different from one to the next, or the image might be the same from one to the next if it's the same drawing. The cell is just basically the transparency so that you can have the drawing of the character over the background without completely covering it up like a opaque piece of paper.
Like projection slides from back in the day.
Or like a paper doll, but if it was a drawing.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I get it now.
So frames per second, you said in older days it was a lot. It was not a lot, but it was slower, 20 to 23, and now it's 24. So that's why film looks different, like that when you see the older.
Yeah, with the advent of sound, you needed synchronized turning of the film gate. So they invented a mechanical crank so that it would play back consistently at 24, and the sound was predictable and synchronized. Before that, with silent films, you had to crank the camera to record it. You're running film through the gate. Then you also had to crank it again to play it back on a projector.
I always think those guys who cranked it, they must have had one arm that was fucking massive. And they might have shown up to work one time drunk, and the movie took like an hour and a half, and it was meant to take like an hour and 10 minutes. And then they might be like, "Oh, God, I'm meant to go down to fuck Sharon. She wants me over at her house, and this film goes a bit quicker."
Have you ever worked on video games? Is that like the same animation process? Is that?
It's similar. A lot of people nowadays are coming from video games into movies, and now people that worked at big studios like Disney are going back into video games at companies like Blizzard and Riot. But the principle is the same. I mean, it's 3D animation on a computer that has a digital puppet with a digital rig that you articulate to create the movement. Just like the old days of King Kong, there was a physical puppet with a metal armature that you pose one frame at a time and photograph. The computer equivalent of that is the computer just does a lot of the in-between movement for you, and you can create much more precise, much more fluid, high frame rate actions that way. But video game animation is kind of like the process that happens before a movie like Toy Story or Frozen gets rendered. When those movies get rendered, they're basically capturing a little bit of animation, rendering it through one camera at one angle, and then telling the story like a live action director. With video games, you create the animation as sort of an instance that you can put anywhere in time or space, and then the player can engage with it. So animating for video games is creating, like, we need a guy falling down who got shot, or we need a guy jumping, or we need somebody, walking slowly or running or crouching. And then the computer blends those individual samples together.
Here's a little thing for you. Okay, so obviously when you make something like Frozen, you go, that's an animated movie. But do you see things like, do you see Jurassic Park as an animated movie because it was all done on computers and CGI? And
no, I mean, there's only like the amount of animated footage in Jurassic Park is really negligible compared to like an Avengers movie nowadays. I think think something like 10 minutes of actual CGI animation in the original Jurassic Park, because they also had a lot of puppets and a lot of photography where they're kind of not showing the dinosaurs. But no, I don't see that as an animated movie. Some people say James Cameron's Avatar with the blue aliens could be considered an animated movie because there's so much CGI in that movie. But I
would say the Phantom Menace. That moment when the Gungans were fighting with the fucking robot droids, that's not a real world. You're just watching a cartoon then, right?
Yep. You are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
I haven't seen it.
got to lie and stop telling people I was an actor in that scene.
It's a puppet.
And so the Avengers is well, you didn't say it was animated, but a lot of it was animated.
Yeah, I mean, in the same way that James Cameron's Avatar could be considered animated, where there's motion capture of real actors, sometimes CGI puppets that look just like the actor to create a visual effect. But there's also a lot of hand keyframed animation where animators are getting in there, moving the puppet around and creating exactly the performance or the effect that the director wants. So it's sort of a marriage between data created by an actor and keyframed information input by an animator.
How long did it take the actor to get into the Hulk makeup?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that one. It's probably more on the live action side.
There are 12 basic principles of animation. I asked Jim to name 2. He said, always be kind. Treat people as you'd like to be treated. It's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. Couple of songs.
I take detailed notes.
Dead parent, movement. Well, are any of those right?
Couple of songs.
Well, I mean, that's why I say the answer could be as high as a 7 out of 10 instead of a 5, because the spirit of those answers is true to working at a big animation studio with hundreds of artists. You got to get along with people to get an animated movie made. It's like, first and foremost, if the group doesn't get along, you're not going to get an animated movie made. It's just too big of a team.
Right.
But the principles of animation relate to what an animator thinks about when creating animation. So in the old hand-drawn days of Disney, they would say squash and stretch creates the illusion of tangibility, right? Physics at a basic level to create the sense of a form, like the flour sack is the classic example. It squashes down and then it stretches when it jumps. And that gets applied to anything from a bouncing ball to Mickey Mouse running and hopping. There's slight deformation on the shapes that are relative as they articulate, so that
it's like if you saw an animation of a bouncing ball, and if as it came down the hill, it kind of squashes into an oval, right, and then regains its shape. Okay.
You just reminded me of that video game Cuphead. Have you ever played that?
Yeah, love Cuphead.
Yeah, and it's like an old timey animation vibe to it, and there's a lot of that squashing and stretching and that. Yeah.
When you were making Frozen, I always find this weird about successful films, or I'm curious about it. When you were making Frozen, were you sitting around with the other animators going, this thing's going to fucking be a phenomenon? Or were you like, we'll just churn this out?
I thought it was going to be successful while working on it, not to the degree that it was, like a $1.2 billion phenomenon. But the studio had already made Tangled. That was already very popular and very expensive. I think the question earlier, what's the most expensive animated movie? It's that one. And it's not because of the images on screen. It's because of the very long development cycle that it had. We all know in Hollywood, development can be a long and drawn out process with a lot of restarts and resets and thrown out work. And Tangled was one of those projects.
Yeah, it was number one at $74 million.
When they animated Michael Jordan in Space Jam, why couldn't they make him act even in that state?
He's still a bad actor.
He's still a bad actor, even with animation. He's just doing a fucking voiceover. No one can jump like that. It's ridiculous.
So, squash and stretch. Are there any other principles of animation that is like?
There's timing and spacing. Spacing is the position change of an object across the frame. So if the ball starts here, then it squashes, goes up, 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 hits its peak, comes down, and then hits. The spacing is, just exactly that, the ball traveling through space in different positions. Timing is how fast does that happen, right? So if it's happening faster, you might only see the ball for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drawings or images or frames. If it's happening slowly, you might see it for way more frames, which is either going to feel like slow motion or it's going to make the ball feel like it's really big and traveling a great distance like a planet or something.
Now, this might sound like a silly question. There was a kid at my school who used to draw, and it just looked like Disney stuff. It just looked like he was heavily
Style,
influenced by
yeah.
it, and he just knew how to do it. Even when he was a little kid, he knew how to do it. And by the time he was 18, he was doing it. And I think he went on to work for some animated thing. I haven't seen him since school, but is it just people who are naturally talented at this, or can you go to university to become an animator? Or like, I assume like working for Disney and Pixar and all that type of stuff, this is like entering the Premier League of your job. Like, okay, I'll rephrase this. Do you ever meet like a cartoonist, an animator from like the Family Guy, and you're like, hello, mate. Yeah, good for you.
Yeah, I mean, the friend that you talked about had a good sense of what they call appeal, which is one of the principles of animation from that list of 12 mentioned earlier. An appeal is sort of the inherent charisma or draw that an image has. So like when a young artist named Fred Moore joined Disney, people said he had a great sense of appeal. He redesigned Mickey Mouse from Steamboat Willie to the kind of Fantasia Mickey that we still associate with the character today. And the eyes were sort of bigger. They had pupils and whites. They're kind of slightly at an angle. He made the head bigger relative to the body to give it like a cuter feel. The hands were really big and had big white gloves. He was squishy. You kind of looked like a more cuddly character than the kind of black simple silhouette from the Ub-Iwerks cartoons. So appeal is almost like the attractiveness of the image.
And yeah, and Disney's like the most recognizable, like you're like, oh, that's a Disney princess. There's such a
Well, I was watching. I was watching a documentary on Walt Disney. I think it's on Disney Plus. You can watch this documentary. Anyway, they were talking about like when they were making Bambi, for example, and they had like maybe 15 animators sitting around. They had this deer just sitting there in like on some hay in the middle of them. Does that still go on? Do you still have to go out and look at animals and stuff like that? Or do we all go, fuck, I know how to do a skunk. Just do a strike.
There's a lot more internet searching that goes on in making animated movies now. Not nearly as much of the in-house visits. You know, when they did that for Lion King, brought in real lions, there was a lot of utility to it. It was educational, but I think there was also some publicity behind it too. Like it looked really cool.
Because I got to tell you, whoever did the Tasmanian Devil, not close. I know you thought the internet would never be invented and no one would fact check you. This is what a Tasmanian Devil looks like. Not fucking even in the same realm. And you're just going, and that's a Tasmanian Devil. Lying cunt he is. So do you want to speak on that?
I mean, it's as much a Tasmanian Devil as Sonic is a hedgehog. You know,
Yeah,
it's sort of
point.
just,
but
it's an impression with a few graphic shapes. I mean, with the Tasmanian Devil, they gave him little furry devil horns, didn't they?
Oh,
You know,
I
it just-
don't remember horns on him.
might just be his
remember him
ears.
going and then spinning around.
yeah.
Now, the only thing that's accurate is Tasmanian devils do go.
I thought you were going to say that's how people from Tasmania sound.
Oh, no, that's, but you know what they eat? What do you reckon Tasmanian devils eat? What's their main diet?
Taco Bell.
Apples.
Oh.
They fucking love apples.
Way out.
They're mad for them, mad for them.
He's only defends things from Australia. Just as
I never said that was great. I'm just,
you're like Sonic the Hedgehog.
I've never seen a Tasmanian devil in the wild. I've spent as much time in Tasmania as you have. Every day I've spent in Tasmania, you were with
that
me.
was your first time there?
That's my first time.
Oh, I liked it. It was
nice.
It's a small place.
We got fucking on
you land on the
drugs.
you land on the plane and they do a U-turn on the runway. I remember there was like what?
We got fucked up in Tasmania.
We did, yeah. We
It
had a
was years ago. It was
bodyguard.
about
You
5
guys
years
were
ago. but
Tasmanian devils.
We went crazy in Tassie.
We did. It was fun. How does rigged animation differ from traditional? Jim said like Roger Rabbit animation with regular folk.
So I'll give the benefit of the doubt to that answer. On Roger Rabbit, there were actually physical rigs on set. You know, if Baby Herman was moving a real live action cigar around, there was a mechanical armature or rig that was doing that. Then they had to literally draw the baby over the rig to cover it up, right? Almost like makeup over the film. But it's not live action hybrid animation. Rigged animation is like anything from King Kong to Toy Story that's three-dimensional and requires either a real puppet or a digital puppet. Whereas drawn animation is exactly that. It's just a drawing, you know, from your hand to the image that brings it to life.
Here's one for you. Why do they? I remember when they made Jurassic Park, and they said this is one of the most expensive movies ever. Or when they make Titanic, they go because of the scene with the boat, and all those scenes are CGI. It's always baffled me that they're done on computers. Shouldn't that be way, way cheaper than just fucking getting a little model and doing it? Like, why was it, or have they brought the price down on CGI? But CGI seemed to be very expensive. Why was that?
It's some of it is the complexity of the hardware. Some of it is the education of the artists and the technicians that have to execute the work. And the computers are not as smart as people give them credit for. It's a lot of input. It's basically just an assistant who holds your hand, right? Like in the days of King Kong, you had to shoot every frame in order. And if you messed up, you had to start over or just leave it in the movie. Whereas in the computer, you can say, I'm going to jump to frame 1, pose the character like this. I'm going to jump to frame 90 and pose the character like this. And you can let the computer just in between it for you. And it'll look terrible because there's no breakdown motion. But the computer is basically like a memory bank. It stores all the information so you don't have to kind of scramble to do everything correctly on one try. But
have we ever lost a great movie scene, a Pixar scene or something like that because someone had been animating on their computer and then they watched porn and they got a virus? That must have happened, right? And also, while I'm at it, who animates that animation porn? Who does that? Because some of the drawings are pretty real to life.
Probably your friend from high school.
You know what I mean? Like that guy must be like, I could actually work for Disney. This Bukkake scene is fucking. I've got this princess down. Don't want to get you in any trouble. You don't have to answer.
There's a lot more people working in our industry now than 20 years ago. So naturally, the sea level will rise in every category of animation.
Yeah.
All right. And what do you think of anime? I always think they're sweating too much and their eyes are too big.
That sounds so racist.
I'm not saying their eyes are too big. I mean, like, you know, like
they do blow up like other
they're
fish,
like they get
like
shocked
Sailor
and there's
Moon.
sauces on them, and then there's always a bead of sweat going down. They're always like, and you're like, all right, calm down, everyone in anime. You know, it never seems to be an anime that anyone just has a nice conversation where they're not freaking the fuck out.
You should watch the Hayao Miyazaki movies of Studio Ghibli. They're kind of considered the Disney of Japan, and their movies are super mellow.
Is that Totoro?
It's Totoro and Spirited Away and Ponyo. Princess Mononoke is a great one. I mean, they're all great, but yeah, that's kind of the more chill approach.
What was your growing up? You obviously had a healthy interest in animation. What was your kick as a kid that you really liked?
I loved Disney. I loved the Warner Brothers cartoons, the Looney Tunes characters, the classic films from the 40s and 50s. But I was a 90s kid, so I loved every new Disney movie that came out. I remember the trailer for Nightmare Before Christmas really captivated me. I didn't know how they had done it. I mean, I knew it was kind of like how the Rudolph Rankin-Bass films were done, but it was so much more fluid and so much more sophisticated. And I remember my neighbors went to go see it, and then I wasn't allowed to see it because of some of the content in the film. I was really young when it came out. But that's one of my favorites. It's just so inventive and takes advantage of what animation can do that other film mediums can't do.
I tell you what I like, Pinky and the Brain.
Yeah.
That was some solid afternoon cartoon, that one. Also, Danger Mouse never got a big play over here, but living in Australia, Danger Mouse was a big one.
Yeah, the Spider-Man is from a long time ago. I used to like, but there was a part where he would go to some underworld and then he would just be swinging through some like weird caves, and it always made me feel weird, that part. But I did like that. And then I also like Ren and Stimpy, which was really
Ren and Stimpy was the first edgy, like mainstream thing where the creatures were vomiting and stuff. Yeah, like
but
that.
they would from afar the animation would be kind of just pretty basic, and then they would have these close-ups of their tongue with like fur and
all the
needle
details.
and whatever. It was like I was like,
there's a really good
hardcore
documentary on Nickelodeon that talks about that and how that was like transformative for the kids show industry, because Ren and Stimpy was so like disgusting.
It was a weird cartoon.
It's a really good documentary.
Yeah. And it seems now that I watch a lot of the cartoons that my son watches, there's like Dog Cat and there's like
Dog.
Pickle and Peanut and all these different things. And they're like, it feels like they've gone back to very basic animation, that people enjoy that on some level. I think maybe South Park is to blame for that, or to be credited for that. I don't know. Am I? Because it feels like simple animation is very popular now. It's had a resurgence.
Yeah, it is. Simple animation is the easiest to do by hand. And I think there's been a whole generation that grew up on the Pixar films and DreamWorks films that are so photorealistic at times and there is an appeal and an accessibility to a simple drawing and how that communicates.
Mm-hmm.
So I think part of it is just a reaction to doing the opposite of what's possible, taking it back to basics. And simple also just tends to be funnier. If something is so impressive and lavish, it tends to be less funny.
Is Gumby respected in the community? Like if he was to show up,
Is he personally
yeah,
respected?
if he was to show up, if there was
You
a
should see him at
if
parties.
there was a party and all the animated people were there, and then
Pokey.
Gumby came along, would they go, "Oh God, it's Gumby! Oh fuck, I used to love him as a kid. Oh, I can't even talk to him."
Respected in the community.
Yeah, or are people just like fucking Gumby, that hack?
Oh, you know what? You know what other cartoon? Like Luno. Do you remember that one? It was it was a Pegasus horse, and I think it was a 30-minute cartoon, but it was chopped up into 2 15-minute, whatever chunks. And so when I was little, my mom would tell me, I'd be like, "How long are we going to be?" And she'd be like, "It's an hour." And I'm like, "That's 4 Lunos." That's how I marked time when I was younger.
Oh, I did that with my kid forever. It's 2 SpongeBobs. He's like, all right, yeah, I know how long that
That's
is.
pretty quick. Yeah, it's over before you even want it to be.
Andrew, can you explain to everybody the uncanny valley?
This is Jack. You can't see him.
Yeah, the uncanny valley is basically when it's usually associated with CGI, but it could be associated with sculpture as well. Like if you go to a wax museum and see a facsimile of a celebrity and it's not quite right, it looks like a corpse that's been slightly melted, but it still looks like Jimmy Fallon or Nicolas Cage. Uncanny valley and
Which is funny because
CGI.
Nicolas Cage looks like Jimmy Fallon if he was melted.
Yep.
He
It's quick.
does.
I like it.
Yeah, you're right. I'm telling you. I just said to myself, "You're right."
You're right, I tell you.
As always.
But I remember when there was a movie called Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within that came out 20 years ago, and that was kind of considered the first Uncanny Valley feature film. And you had a character voiced by Alec Baldwin who looked like a plastic Ben Affleck, and so there's already like another weird disconnect going on top of the plastic CGI.
Oh, that movie, the Beowulf, that
Yep.
thing's fucking terrifying. And it's Robert Zemeckis, and I fucking love anything Robert Zemeckis
Did you
does.
ever read the book, Beowulf?
Polar Express.
Oh, yeah,
I don't even know why I
Polar
asked.
Express.
Oh, yeah.
Good
that
night, kids. Christmas is in the morning. Dun, 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 dun. Like, it's fucking
Their
terrifying.
eyes they have the dead eyes.
They can't CGI when they try to make people look like actual people. They
Yeah.
haven't got it. You can make them look like cartoon characters, but like, how close are you to actually? Okay, that's a good way because I know they're bringing out a movie right now, and James Dean's going to be in it, right? And so they're bringing back actors, and soon we're going to have a Marilyn Monroe movie and all that type of stuff. And I think they're close because you do things like you see Arnold Schwarzenegger younger as a Terminator and things like that. I just don't feel like they're quite there yet. Are they close to doing that, or is that a little whiles away from being really good?
I think it's getting better, but I think it's a little bit like an exponential diminishing returns, right? It's like Toy Story 1 where the humans are basically Barbie dolls. And then you've got Toy Story 3 where they look much better. And then you've got things like the digital stunt doubles like the young Arnold from Terminator, where it's basically a real guy. And then they put a CGI face on it and they kind of map it to that actor's face so that it absorbs some of the motion and some of the spacing, but it's still not quite right. If you guys have ever seen like deep fakes where they'll put like a Tom Cruise face on Jim Carrey or something, and it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And in some ways it's more convincing than a CGI replicant, but it's still like a little off. Even when you're not using a 3D puppet, you're just using kind of deep fake technology. It's still uncanny. It's still off.
Well, I thought Mark Hamill in The Mandalorian was close, but they made him not move very much when he saw his face. He just sort of stayed still. But then when they made Robert De Niro really young in that
Irishman.
The Irishman,
No.
I was like, fucking hell, at least get another actor to do the body. He was meant to be 30 years old, and Robert De Niro go, I'm going to kick the shit out of you. And it was still an 80-year-old bloke doing the kicking. I tell you what, the way he was hunched over, giving you a kick.
He's just always had that posture.
But I would like if they get it to a reasonable level, for one of my specials to be younger. That'd be nice.
That's a good
Just
idea.
something younger, more hair,
Blow the budget on
bigger
that.
tits.
Yeah,
I want big,
that's the
massive
most
tits.
expensive.
Do you still have your space boobs?
Yeah, I'm
from
just
the
gonna
show?
have tits, just so I can get the men in to watch it, and then
What was the
I think,
first?
I think the more subtle the difference in subject and outcome, the better it is. Like if you've got a 50-year-old and you want him to look 40, it's easier to do that than it is to make an 80-year-old look 30.
Right.
And I mean, basically, the more work the computer or makeup artist has to do, the less effective it's going to be.
Yeah, I thought they didn't do bad in Tron with what's his name, the dude,
Jeff Bridges?
Jeff Bridges in Tron looked pretty good. And then even Kurt Russell in the fucking Guardians of the Galaxy at the beginning when he's meant to be in the 70s.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, he looked pretty good in the computer.
First famous animated character, Jim said Shonky Rabbit.
You know the guy. He's like a rabbit. You can buy the ears at Disney, but he's like a rabbit. And I know what you're going to tell me. There was some. Oh, fuck the rabbit. I'm going to go. It's fucking Felix the cat or Betty Boop.
It's Felix the cat.
Felix the cat predates Betty Boop.
All right, I get it. One more point.
And then Oswald the lucky rabbit.
Oswald. He was taken away after an unfortunate incident in the 60s.
Around the grassy knoll.
I wasn't talking about that. He just Me Too'd a woman at Disneyland.
I actually got to animate Oswald in a short film called Get a Horse that played before Frozen. There's like this whole jamboree section at the end where they're performing to Turkey in the Straw, and Oswald kind of peeks his head in and leaves. And the reason he's in the short is because I just took the Mickey Mouse rig and deformed him into Oswald.
Now, people must have, because I remember seeing like Jurassic Park for the first time and being blown away by the CGI the first time I saw it, and still that movie still stands up pretty good. The first animal, so when Felix the cat came out, were people losing their shit? Or were they like, oh, that's interesting? Or were people lining up going, you got to see it. It's like a cat. Yeah, I've seen cats before. No, it's like a drawing of a cat. What are you talking? I've seen drawings of a cat. It's a drawing of a cat and the cat's moving. What the fuck are you talking about? You have to see it.
Well, I think it was the first animated series that was widely popular, like had that mass appeal of a character like Mickey Mouse that would come later. But it looked like the newspaper comics of the day come to life. Before that, you had Winsor McKay, who was also a newspaper comic artist, but he would do these really elaborate drawings. Like if you've ever seen Gertie the Dinosaur, which came out in 1907 or something like that. Maybe it was a little later. It's like this super elaborate drawing of a dinosaur. And it's almost like the way he presents it is like an Art Nouveau ringmaster, like presenting Gertie the Dinosaur, but really he's just filming himself, then showing his drawings. And there was sort of a novelty aspect to it, but it wasn't mass market like a Disney character. And Felix was the first one that sort of created the model for the Betty Boops and the Mickey Mouses and the Oswalds and Popeyes that would come a little bit later, where it's like a cartoon that's a celebrity.
Why were cavemen such bad artists? Like I've seen a lot of paintings. They just paint stick figures and all that type of stuff. Why were they so fucking simple? Like you could have got one like Korag the Drawer, right? He comes in, fucking that's a good picture. Why haven't we walked into one cave and gone, oh, this is like Frozen?
They didn't have pencils.
You can give me a quick or a long answer, whatever you want.
What do you think, Andrew, has the answer?
Yeah.
He's an expert.
They'd have to like chip away into rocks.
It's
They didn't have paper or pencils.
It's not like we've inherently become better at drawing as we go along. You think there'd be one caveman who did some real intricate drawings, but they're always shit.
I think we just have gotten better at drawing.
Yeah.
So I know some character designers who really like cave art because of the simplicity and uniqueness of the shapes, but they didn't have any way of really recording anything except for memory. And the only way to see an animal still was either dead or wounded, right? And so watching them move was sort of like a quick impression that you then had to take with you, go back to the cave, and then scrape onto a wall with a rock. So I think there were just more barriers to being comfortable while creating the art.
Oh, that's true. Have you
I
ever?
knew he'd have an answer.
Have
you
you-
all looked at me
Yeah.
like you wouldn't have an answer.
I didn't think he was going to, but good job. Have you ever tried to draw an animal from memory? It's
never tried to draw an animal.
remarkably hard.
Yeah.
Like it's so much easier to do it if you're looking at an image of it, but holy crap, you really don't know how deformed an animal can look until you try that.
Also, because when you look at like the Egyptian walls and they've got all the different people and they've got like cats' heads and all that type of stuff, and then a snake coming out of their forehead and that type of stuff, and we all think that's a pharaoh and a this and it's telling some historical tale. I reckon there's a good chance that they were just like the comic books, and that was like, like another episode of Snakehead.
Yeah, probably.
And we're all trying to look at it like, and obviously the pharaoh and cats are very important. Snakehead and the cat. I love this.
Great episode.
One thing about like Egyptian mythology and Greek mythology is they have a lot of deep lore, like the Marvel universe, and a lot of characters. So I think you're onto something there with the entertaining drama of all the stories around these broad characters.
Another point.
Yeah, and there'd be shit characters that came in. Oh, Molehead. Didn't take off.
Head-based characters?
Yeah, they're always like a human body with a different head. That was the Egyptians really went for that.
Birdhead.
Yeah, Birdhead they tried, didn't go very well. Snakehead and fucking Cathead were the highest rating shows at the time.
I have a question about working on the Disney films. Obviously, there's a huge team of animators. How does your work break down? Like, do you get assigned a character? Do you get assigned a scene? How does that play out?
Every animator has different strengths as an actor. You're basically acting in slow motion through the digital puppet. Some people are really funny and create, great body language with the characters. Other people are really good at shooting reference of themselves and then capturing it in their animation and creating really moving performances of crying or deep thought. And you kind of get typecast on certain characters. Like on Frozen, I mainly worked on Princess Anna because the supervising animator, Becky Breezy, I think responded to choices I was making. But then you had other animators like Hiram Osmond, who was supervising on Olaf and created just wildly funny body language that would get laughs in the theater just because of how he animated that character. So your strengths are recognized by your supervising art team, and then you get sort of cast on roles.
That's super interesting.
That's interesting. So you sort of get a character that you're meant to draw, and then other people get other characters. So have you ever been in like trouble where they're like, you're just doing crowds?
I mean, you're not doing crowds because you're in trouble. You're usually doing it because you're green. You're new to the studio, and they want to get you comfortable with the workflow. And, showing in dailies and interacting with the director and just developing a lot of muscle memory with how to do animation on that platform. And then once you get, mature in your abilities, then you might get more special acting scenes.
Have you ever had a character cut from a film? Like, have you ever been like making Aladdin and you were doing Aladdin's friend Steve, who he goes back and chats to every now and again. And Steve's like, I reckon you should fucking go after her, mate. I reckon she's hot to trot. And he's like, I don't know. I'm just a peasant. Go fucking dress up like a king. Go on. All right, Steve. And then he goes off. Yeah. What happened to Steve?
I've never had a character like Steve cut from a project I was working on. But there is a story from the Jungle Book where there was a rhinoceros named Rocky the Rhino, and he was completely cut from the film, I think because Walt Disney just didn't like the character.
Yeah, and,
so
and he had one song called I'm Horny.
Well, Jack Whitehall, when he was on the podcast, didn't he say he had a speaking role in Frozen and then got downgraded?
Who was this?
Jack Whitehall.
Jack Whitehall. He's a friend of mine from back in the day in England. He's a comedian. He's now the second lead in the Jungle Cruise movie with The Rock. He's the other lead. I think he's playing the first homosexual Disney character. So there was a bit of controversy about him getting that part. And then people go, it should have gone to a gay actor because Jack does very well with the women.
But he's questionable. He was flirting with you.
He told us he had
I can't disclose too much, but there was a famous comedian who has been canceled who almost had a major secondary role in Frozen, but I can't say who it is.
Was he canceled before or was he canceled during?
Well after. After.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's Jack. I remember in our
I can think of so many people.
I think it's Louis C.K. who was playing Olaf's cousin.
Louis C.K. Crystally. I don't know.
Jack Whitehall's character was Gothy, troll priest, and it says, it says voice uncredited. So apparently he still existed in the movie, but didn't have any lines. They took all his lines away.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so
that's news to me.
Many cartoon characters only have 4 fingers. How did this benefit the studios? And Jim said too many danglies.
Yeah, it just doesn't
and
look
it looks
right.
It doesn't
look right. It doesn't look right. But we
I think the too many danglies answer is 50% right. It's 5 out of 10 right. But it's also a cost thing. It's like if you've got a character who's as simple as Mickey or Felix, it does look weird legitimately when they have 5 fingers. It's like too much information in a small space for such a simple character. But, in the case of The Simpsons, you probably could do those characters with 5 fingers and it would look a little off maybe. Sometimes it would look good, sometimes it wouldn't. So they erred on the side of just give them 4 fingers. And it makes a TV show much cheaper to produce when you've got many characters on screen all the time.
Yeah, there you go.
Cost saver. What is stop motion? Jim said not drawn. Move slightly and take photos of each movement.
Yeah, that's correct. It's basically just taking a photo 1 frame at a time and moving something a little bit at a time to create that illusion of motion.
And that seems to have been around as long as just drawn animation, right? Because as you were saying, King Kong and all that type of stuff. Like I remember, like when I used to watch like Jason and the Argonauts and all that type of stuff. They used to have all the like the little skeleton soldiers come out and all that type of stuff. So was that before or after drawn animation?
They kind of developed at the same time, because once people figured out how to create motion through the sequential playback of film, the very first animation were photographs taken by a guy named Edward Muybridge, who would photograph people walking through tripwires. And every time one of the tripwires was triggered, it would take a photo. So if they're like spaced apart at just the right amount, you get, that little snapshot of.
I hear small movements at a time is still how they make Kevin Costner act. I have a thing against Kevin Costner. What he does is he picks good movies. The guy can't act for shit. I love his films. I love him.
I don't know what order all the podcasts we have been recording come out, but there's going to be a lot of Kevin Costner bashing. I don't know which podcast is which one, but people are going to be like, wow, he's talking about Kevin Costner.
Like first he came out the French Chef, now Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner doesn't emote. And his movies are fantastic. The guy picks the best films and then just stands there going, I'm in charge. I'm your bodyguard. Actually, that was more than emotes. He would never think of going, that'd be too much.
CGI stands for computer-generated imagery used in cinematic graphic industries. You're on there, but so wait, I'm just going through the questions. What is tweening? Oh, sorry. Make a cartoon for a 13 or 14-year-old, Jim said.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's not correct. Tweening is just creating the in-between image.
So tweening is why that comedian couldn't be in the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It's something that happens automatically now on a computer with directed choices by an animator, but it used to be something you had to do by hand. You draw Mickey Mouse in this pose, then in that pose, and you have to draw every in-between image to kind of create that fluidity. So it's basically just the in-between images between primary poses.
You know what animation I've been missing that they don't do anymore is when back in the old Warner Brothers, the Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner and all that type of stuff. If someone wanted to run really quickly, you heard a.
They ran in place first.
Yeah, they ran in place, and then they just had like a spiral underneath the person's body of legs just running around really quickly. Yeah. Bring that back.
Get on it.
Yeah, people like that.
Yeah.
To create slower action, you would use more frames, Jim said, which you said was correct earlier in another answer. Right?
Yeah, so you use more frames to kind of eat up more time, essentially. So if something needs to happen on screen for 5 seconds, 5 times 24 frames, whatever that is. And then if it needs to happen over 1 second, just 24 frames. So the slower the action, the more screen time it takes up, the more frames you need.
We mentioned the most expensive movie was Tangled. First fully
Tangled. I would never have picked the Tangled.
Yeah, let's see if you can guess this. So Tangled was $274 million.
$274 million.
Yeah.
By contrast, what was the budget for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs?
Because that was old money. Mm-hmm. There would have been in old money $800,000.
$1.49 million.
Yeah, more expensive than I thought. Snow White. I'll tell you who should be me too. That bloody prince who kissed her to wake up, Sleeping Beauty. He shouldn't be in any more film. Are they getting rid of him? So you got rid of.
I actually saw that topic trending on Twitter. That exact topic not too long ago.
And you got rid of Uncle Remus because he was a slave hanging around on the plantation with all the bloody birds on his shoulders singing zippity doodah. He had too happy a disposition. You got rid of him, and then the prince still stays. I'm going to tell you other characters that should be cancelled.
Mufasa. Scar.
Yeah, Scar. Got to. Yeah. He's just killing people. Yeah. Cancel that guy.
Cancelled.
Nasty person. Yeah. Nasty person. The baddie out of Aladdin, Jafar or whatever, he's no good either. So I mean, Forrest is onto something.
I was trying to ask him, doesn't he have these things? He says examples.
I can't
of
read his
animation.
handwriting.
Examples.
He just did like
of
hieroglyphics.
animation. You said Andrew might have some examples.
Oh yeah, you have some. You have some examples you
just
can
said
show
it.
us about. I truly had no idea what you were trying to write there.
I want one
Thought
thing.
that was
So
a cat head cartoon.
there's a lot of urban legends and things that you can sort of prove. So there was a bit where there was all the dust and the smoke came up, and it was meant to say some swear word or triple X or something like that in the Lion King.
Yeah, in Lion King.
In the Lion King.
And then
I think it just. Go ahead.
And then in Roger Rabbit, and I freeze frame this, and I've seen the old footage. It's real. She doesn't have an underwear when she falls out of the car, and you can see Jessica Rabbit's, I'll say Warren. That's what.
Warren?
Yeah, Rabbit
and in
Warren.
Little Mermaid, the priest had a boner.
Oh, well, of course.
Yeah.
Priest.
So the first two are true. The priest one is actually a misunderstood drawing of his knobby knee under his gown.
Oh, yeah.
Knobby knee still
I've
sounds like an
heard
erection.
people call it a knobby knee.
That's what
before.
I'll be saying in court. I was a bit knobby-kneed.
Wait, what's the other one that's true?
In the original cut release of Lion King, I think when Simba lays down in the grass, the pollen or dust that comes up spells sex,
yeah.
I think.
Sex,
Or
that's
just like
right.
a couple. Yeah, I remember even, when we were in elementary school, we knew that, and we would pause the VHS tape on that frame.
And do
There
you
it
think
is.
that was
That's
just
how dire things were when we were young. There was like no internet porn. We're like,
jerked
guys,
off to that.
the word sex is on the screen.
do you think that was a disgruntled employee or someone just trying to have a laugh?
I think it was just someone trying to have a laugh, to be honest. I mean, there's always jokes that happen. These movies are made by people who live in the real world and have real senses of humor. And
Ooh,
yeah,
I
I
have a
think
good one.
nowadays that stuff just doesn't end up in the movie. It happens, off screen.
Have you ever put any like Easter eggs into your scenes that would be meaningful to like you and the people in your life? That's what I would be doing.
you mean besides just like putting Oswald in the Mickey short?
Yeah, like
something a
something
little
in a
more
scene
specific
where
to
it's
me.
like, this is something my wife would understand, or something small like that.
Probably not in the Disney films I worked on, because the scenes are so, particularly directed. By the time it gets to the animator, you kind of just have to perform it in a convincing way, but the ideas are generally figured out before they get to you. But in the film One Small Step that I directed, there's a scene where the main character, Luna, kisses an envelope before she puts it in the mailbox. And my wife did that before she applied to college, and she got into the college she wanted.
Oh.
So that was like a detail that we're like, we put it in because it was something my wife
And that's
did.
why they were still married. She lives over the other side of the country now.
Oh, no, we're happily married.
Now, when you go home, see, I used to be a stand-up comedy enthusiast. I used to watch so much of it. Now I see so much. If I go to a gig, I watch the other comics and all that type of stuff. I watch very, very little stand-up comedy at home now because, I've seen so much of it. Do you ever turn on The Simpsons, or do you just sort of go, enough? I've seen enough drawings today.
It's funny. The Simpsons is probably one of the few things I'll still watch that's animated, but the old Simpsons, I'll revisit an episode from like season 4 or 5, but I don't really watch the new stuff. I'll see the Pixar films that come out. I'll see the Disney films that come out. And maybe there's 1 or 2 films independent or from another studio that I'm interested in, but I don't watch probably more than 3 or 4 animated features a year. I mostly am interested in live action television.
So I watch more animated movies than you. I have an 8-year-old. I watch them on, and I'm about to have another baby come. I've got 10 more years of this.
Yep.
Just anything.
But they're so good now.
Anything you draw, I'm seeing it, mate.
Yeah,
I'm
like
seeing
the
it
Mitchells
5 or
versus
6
the
times.
Machines.
Oh
That
my
was
God, the Mitchells.
fantastic.
I love the Mitchells
That
versus the
was
Machine.
so
That was my favorite
funny
one.
and
But
good.
I didn't want to mention it because you don't work for the Mitchells versus the Machine.
No, I work for Netflix, and we own that, so it's all right.
Oh, okay, because that was
but I
very
wanted
good.
to say, when you were first trying to guess what I do, and you said I'm in like the most nondescript space. It's because all the interesting stuff is in front of me.
Yeah,
so
that wall's built for storyboarding, isn't it? At the back, like it looks
It's
like.
actually, I'm in a garage. You can see, there's the
right. I
ladder
thought it was
and
a
the
big
garage.
studio.
He's also having
What
a
a neat
baby,
garage.
so his
Yeah, I moved
he
into
got
the
kicked
garage
out.
because my future son took my home office. But up here I've got some Disney memorabilia. There's Pinocchio and Frozen and Mickey Mouse characters. and my wife's desk right here.
Oh wow! So both of you are living in the garage. This baby's
Yeah.
really taken over the place, eh?
She's a.
You should think about building a house onto the garage.
I like it in here better than in my old room. Because we got the high ceiling and
And all of a sudden,
just-
your wife can drive in and kill you at any moment.
this is Burbank. Nobody parks in their home here. Everyone parks in the street.
Oh, so you live right next to the Disney studios, huh? You're just walking down the road to work every day.
Yeah, I bought my house right before they relocated the studio to a warehouse in North Hollywood. I was like, I'm going to get to walk to work. And then they're like, we're making Zootopia in a warehouse over by the Burbank airport. I'm like, oh, guess I'm still driving to work. Okay.
It's still close. You're good.
Yeah.
So were we going to show some?
Oh yeah. Do you want to show us a couple of those examples you said you had pulled up?
Oh yeah. There was more I wanted to say about the Mitchells first.
Okay. Yeah.
So when I saw that film, which I loved and I watched twice in the same weekend, because it's rare that I love an animated movie that much at my age, but it was the first animated movie about a character who's probably going to grow up and be an animator. I've never seen that before, because animators always make films about musicians or actors or singers, like whatever it is. Like animators usually create stories about sort of a like a stand-in occupation that's more exciting than sitting and drawing at your desk. Like even Soul, I think Pete Docter entertained the idea of making him an animator instead of a jazz musician, but more people can relate to somebody like sitting in a club playing an instrument. It's more visually interesting.
Right.
But Mitchell's, it's like a girl in her room at her computer, animating and shooting things and cutting things together. She's making movies the way an animator would, like I did in high school. And it was like an animated movie about an animator. That's a first, and the movie's great. So that was exciting to see.
Wouldn't an animation of them just look like a regular movie to us? Okay.
I mean, there's some live action in the film here and there.
Yeah. A follow-up question. You went to high school with Kelly.
Yeah.
What was her nickname and what did she get up to?
Well, I knew her as Kelly Zabielski. So I think now she goes by her nickname.
Yeah.
Unless you legally changed it.
What's your
I'm not
nickname
sure.
now?
My nickname's Dumb Bitch.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah, we were in choir together.
Kelly Blackheart.
We were in choir together, yeah.
What do you want? Crack out a song, the two of you? Come
No,
on,
it's okay.
give us a bit of a sing song.
Hallelujah.
No thanks.
Hallelujah.
Okay, yeah,
She's
you do
Kelly.
it.
She's sing. She's got a hard name to pronounce.
All right, let's see. All right, let's see these examples.
All right. So I'll show you guys.
Yeah. For you listening at home, this won't be fun.
That's
Oh,
all right.
I
You're
think,
watching
I
on
think-
YouTube.
No, I'll paint a picture.
Yeah,
Okay,
you,
yeah.
I might need you to enable screen
Oh, yeah.
sharing.
probably.
Jack, enable screen.
Enable screen. Enhance.
Computer.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if that's what being an animator was like? You just bark orders at the computer and then it just
I still would fuck it up.
Make character. Make him look happy.
push the
Sorry.
make movie button.
Go ahead and try.
Re-enhance.
All right.
All right. What are you showing us?
Can you see this?
We're
Oh yeah,
starting.
that's some words.
There we go.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
It's
So this was the first test animation I did for my Patreon short film, The Brave Locomotive. This is a character named Henry, the engineer. And it was basically just a walk cycle test to figure out the character.
He's
So-
smoking. Are you from the 1950s?
it's a throwback film to 1940s Disney. So in it, characters, they smoke.
Got a pipe.
Yeah, he's got an old fashioned Popeye kind
And
of
all the
pipe.
smoke is saying the word fuck.
That's right. It's all swirly because it's like a musical cartoon.
He's got some long
But-
gloves. He's been doing some sort of proctology
He's been
exams.
working on the railroad.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That's right. Yes, he's been working on
he
the
walks
railroad.
like Liam Gallagher.
Oh, I like how specific that is. I don't know who that is, but
The lead singer,
I like.
lead singer from Oasis.
oh, wonderful.
I like Liam Gallagher.
So how long did that take you to make? Like a couple hours?
This is maybe 2 days of work.
2 days.
Yeah, so I'll turn off some of these layers here. So this is a program called TV Paint, and it's what a lot of Disney animators use nowadays for animating on the computer. And I've got,
There's nothing.
I got some line layer here. I can turn up the opacity.
Oh.
So this is what it looks like when you first animate it. It's just like let me set this to loop.
And so
like
do
a
you
pencil
do you draw
drawing.
it by hand on like an iPad and then kind of like rig it up, or
Yeah. So actually, I've got my stylus here, and if I turn the thing around, you can see I'm on a tablet.
Oh.
So it's basically just like a drawing board that's also a computer monitor.
And that's sensitive enough to do the intricate details just on the monitor. Like that's as good as drawing on paper.
It's incredible. So this is a Wacom tablet, and they've been around for maybe almost 20 years now. There we go.
Can I ask you a question? Okay, whenever I was a kid and I got like a book, because I can't draw for shit, but I always liked animation. So you get one of those books that were like how to draw Mickey Mouse or how to draw whatever, and there was always cones and circles and stuff. Like there was like a big circle, then a little circle, then a cone, and all that type of stuff. Is that bullshit, or do you still think of it in that way? You know what I mean?
You have to break things down into shapes. Otherwise it's just really hard to manage all that information. Because instead of seeing just like little lines everywhere, you kind of have to see the overall shape like this. His head is like this big wedge shape, or his body is kind of like this, I don't know, pear shape. You kind of have to just break it down in rough form before you start getting into the details, because otherwise it becomes difficult to manage. But yeah, you kind of train your eye to see things in big sections, working general to specific.
And when you're drawing something like this, are you taking from your life? Are you like picturing an uncle or something else, or is it just sort of a back catalogue of different characters you've seen before? Is it just completely organic?
I mean, in this particular character, I've been told by some of my Disney colleagues that there's a little bit of self-portrait in here, but through the lens of like a 1940s Disney character design style. When I draw this character, I think of like Danny Kaye a little bit too. I think these kind of old-timey Hollywood theatrical performers.
All right.
Cool.
I wish I was artistic.
Okay, so
you're very close, different words.
I've got another thing to show. So this is this is like the modern approach to hand-drawn animation, where you're drawing on a computer tablet, and instead of flipping paper, you can jump to any frame, change anything at any time. You don't have to film it, with a camera, because it already exists on the computer. So you can just save it out and it's already moving. So computer animation, even when it's hand drawn, cuts out a lot of middle processes. The other aspect to this film that I'm involved with is 3D computer animation. So it's about trains. It's Brave Locomotive. And I joked recently that instead of making a model train set here in my garage, I'm just making an animated film about trains that takes advantage of my skill set as an animator.
Sure.
But 3D computer animation is great because you can make it look 2D. You can make it look like a flat image, but you have the benefit of the computer storing all this information that you don't have to keep drawing over and over again. So this is a character in the film called Samson. He's a giant 1920s style locomotive, and you create this rig, and it's basically like a toy that you can play with on the computer. And we were speaking about video games earlier. This is how video game technology is done. You animate an instance, but you can toggle around it and see it playing back in real time, almost like a three-dimensional flip.
I don't think we're seeing this.
Yeah.
now.
we can't see Samson
old
yet.
character.
I want to see Samson.
Okay, yeah, you can cut that out, and I'll just say
Now, while we're waiting for Samson, so you have a baby on the way, and it's going to be a little boy, correct?
I do, yeah. I when I was really little, like 4 or 5 years old, I loved trains, trucks, airplanes, anything that was moving. And I think part of the fact that I'm revisiting and finishing this film now is in anticipation of having a son.
Mm-hmm.
I'll want him to see it and enjoy it. And
Like you've got to be the greatest dad going. You make animation about trains and stuff like that for little kids. But I know this much about children. There's a small chance he won't be interested in any of this.
Yeah.
And there might be. He probably will. But how much of a disappointment will he be if that is the case? just like, like when you see like athletes and they're like the top basketball players and then their son doesn't play at all. And they're like, no, he's not interested. You know what I mean? Like you can always tell, oh, no, he's got his own things that he's into. So how much are you going to push this on your kid and do?
Well, my wife went to school for animation, and she's a fashion designer. And I loved animation since I was a kid and grew up wanting to do it. And now I do it. But if he's interested in sports or being a lawyer or being an actor or an accountant or whatever.
That's all the jobs in the world. You named all of them.
Yeah, it's really fine. I mean, I think animation it's a lot of fun, but it's not a way to make big money like a doctor or a lawyer or like a celebrity actor. It's more of a middle class profession, I would say, financially, like maybe upper middle class.
Really?
And
The Disney don't pay you the big bucks for doing this?
no, they pay very well. It's a very good upper middle class job. You know, I should clarify that. But I mean, and they have a good bonus structure and everything, and the directors do really well. So there's opportunity to kind of touch some of that Hollywood, potential.
It must piss you off that at things like Comic-Con, the people who do the fucking voices, they're lining around the corner to fucking get their autograph on a drawing that you have fucking done, right? So like Kristen Bell does the voice in Frozen. She was probably in the studio for a day and she gets all the credit. You were working on this thing for fucking years.
It doesn't make me mad though. I mean, it's kind of like they're sort of the real estate investment, and then we're the architectural crew that has to then build on that real estate. I mean, there's a lot to it. I mean, people see movies for all kinds of reasons, either brand or celebrity, or it's a musical and it looks expensive, so I want to see it. There's so many reasons people go see these movies, and the 5 or 6 individual animators on a team of 800 are probably not one of them. So you have to kind of be okay with that, because that's not really what the job's about. But for the people who want it to be about that, yeah, they're probably pretty angry.
So I was in an animated film, it hasn't come out yet, but I know that, and probably most people at home know this. The voice is done first, right? And then you animate over the top of the voice. Now, when you have a character in something like Frozen or whatever, and you already have, like, you've read the script and the character's meant to be this plucky, blah, 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 blah. Have you ever, and you don't have to say any names, have you ever had a voice come through where you're like, well, that's not how I imagined it at all? Or it's a little, lower energy than you thought it might be, or anything like that? Or and on the flip side, have you ever had voices come in where you're like, that has just made the character, I wasn't even interested in this character until I heard the voice?
Yes. I'll answer the latter part of the question first. I wasn't interested in Olaf as a character in Frozen until he was Josh Gad. Josh Gad made that. He made that character. He made that character.
That's good.
But I mean, he was only kind of temp, and he was originally played as a more sarcastic kind of character. And then when they made him kind of more like a man-child, something about it worked in a way that I was like, okay, that people are going to love that character.
Yeah, he was very good at it.
I'm a huge fan of Josh Gad.
I'm not going to get into that. But
Did I?
No,
he just thinks he sings too much.
Like, he has to sing in every fucking film. He has to find a way to sing in every movie.
All right, move on.
There wasn't a need for Pixel to have a song.
Move on.
Oh, I haven't seen it. He sings in that too.
Anything. Anything. He could be playing Lee Harvey Oswald in the fucking assassination of Kennedy, and he'd find I bought my gun on a mailing order. Like, he'd fucking figure out a way to wedge a song in.
Yeah, good retention of knowledge from the gun episode.
Yeah,
that we had on the podcast. Good job.
He probably is friends with more people who are animators at Disney than any voice actor who's worked there. He was very, very engaged.
Of course, because he wants to gain weight so he doesn't have to be on screen anymore. He has to go down. No, I'm only teasing. Now, did you ever hear the story about so Mike Myers originally voiced Shrek, and then he voiced it, and I believe half the whole movie was animated, and then he came back and went, I've decided I want Shrek to be Scottish. And they didn't tell him that half of it was made, and they were like, are you sure? And Michael's like, oh, I'm positive. He's got to have a Scottish accent. Question, how much would that fuck you off?
If I was the producer and a lot of it was already animated, I would probably not be happy about it. If I was the animator and I'd only animated maybe a few scenes, I'd be okay with it.
Because also before that, they'd only voiced half of the film had already been voiced by Chris Farley. But Chris Farley had died, so they'd already started working on Chris Farley stuff. So that film was just like, so one guy fucking dies, this guy wants to be fucking Scottish. Nightmare.
Yeah, and the Chris Farley recordings are from like 4 or 5 years before it came out in 2001. So it's like late 90s. They had a whole storybook version of the movie with Chris Farley.
Yeah.
Have they ever released any of that?
I don't think he finished the recording, so they would have made the movie with him because it would have been a bigger news story to have a Chris Farley
but
film.
I feel like they'd have some takes.
It went through a lot of story changes too. I mean, animated movies is kind of like sometimes the way these movies turn out, they play differently as storybook or animation than they are on the page. And then these movies have to check so many boxes, right? Either whether it's merchandise or demographics or whatever it might be. They almost happen so slowly that it's easier to pick them apart in real time.
Do you,
right? Whereas
do you know, like, actors? Okay, so everyone could agree that Eddie Murphy seems to be dynamite in these films, from being in Mulan and then being the donkey and all that type of stuff. And I've heard that he just bashes these films out and he just gives them so many different takes, so many different options. Have you ever had like a pitch meeting where they've come in and they go, and we're going to use this actor? And you're like, what? Like Zac Efron. He doesn't have an interesting voice. Has Zac Efron done one? I'd like to pitch against that.
Probably.
against
I
that.
don't think he has.
Well, so
Anti-pitch.
I often feel sorry for when I was a kid, the voices of the actors and thing, they were voice actors. They were specialty people. You had your Mel Brooks and even like, who's the guy who did the Beast in Beauty and the Beast? You don't know who that is. It was some actor or whatever. And now it's just like the most famous person we can get rather than the most interesting voice. I've always thought that I should be in every Australian one as a crocodile. Why am I? Close your,
Are you going to ask him the question, why am I not?
Close your eyes right now. I actually almost was a crocodile in a DreamWorks one that Tim Minchin was making, but about a bilby. The movie never went ahead. But anyway, close your eyes.
Okay.
Tell me if this doesn't sound like a crocodile right now. That's a crocodile's voice. You got it. The crocodile, you can picture his eyes opening up, and then he's like, all right, what are you up to?
All right, now get mad.
Ah, you bloody get off me land, you fucking piece of shit. A lot of swearing.
Yeah, but crocodiles don't live on land.
Yeah, I live near the swamp, you cunt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. That
Look
was
at
it.
the crocodile. For any crocodile animation coming out, you know where to find me.
Okay, Andrew. So this is the end of the podcast. We ask our guests to give us a dinner party fact, something like obscure, interesting.
The fact that I was never a crocodile is pretty surprising to anyone.
our guests can use to impress friends or, coworkers.
My name's Snappy.
Well, I actually saw something today that
fresh.
That was very fascinating to me. So scientists have inserted a GIF or GIF, if you like, which is usually an image that people share with each other as a meme, little animated image, into the DNA of living bacteria.
Oh.
So we're one step closer to embedding data into our own skin. So they're basically using DNA as a hard drive to store a very small image file.
And is that GIF of Robert Downey Jr. rolling his eyes? Like, isn't that one?
It's actually a GIF of a man riding a horse that was photographed by Edward Muybridge in the 1870s.
Wow,
So the
they went
very
historic
first,
with it.
Yeah, God,
Yeah.
We've gone through all this trouble to get technology. Put a funny in there.
Yeah, the scientists were again waxing nostalgic about the history of the moving image, so they wanted to put that into the first DNA data storage.
Yeah.
What does that mean for us?
Well, that was a good podcast, man.
Yeah, I want to say again, Andrew Chesworth, his website is andrewchesworth.com. His last name is CHES, just one S, WORTH. And you can find links to his Instagram and I just followed you on there. A lot of cool animation stuff on there. And also don't forget his Patreon that he showed us a little bit of there. The Brave Locomotive. They can contribute to that, right? On Patreon or that.
Yeah, that's right. And we're scheduled to wrap in September of this year. And then we'll probably do a few festivals and maybe release it online either end of the year or early next year.
Oh, we'll plug that when it comes out
Yeah,
as
for
well.
sure.
Also,
awesome.
we
Thank
have
you.
our Patreon and come and
you
come
can
and
also
see.
find
Do you want to see the Samson model,
Oh,
by the way?
yeah.
I
We
don't know.
didn't get to see that. Sorry.
I can cut that back in. So can you see this 3D model here?
Yes.
Yeah, so because obviously trains are very complicated to animate, you don't want to draw all this detail by hand. I made a 3D model in Maya that's supposed to look kind of like a flat two-dimensional image. And the final render will have like sort of line work on it, sort of like the Iron Giant, if you've ever seen that movie.
Oh, I love the Iron Giant.
Yeah, it's the same exact technology. In fact, the same software that the Iron Giant was made in. So this train is kind of an Iron Giant himself, but we're mentioning that video game animation is sort of like instance animation that you can toggle around in real time, almost like you're watching a playback of a virtual puppet without having to move it. So we've got this rig, he's chugging along here, and I can look at him from any angle.
Oh.
And this is how you'd create animation for a video game, but this is also the same program we use to create Frozen as well. And then if I turn on these controls here, he actually does have a rig, so you can sort of move him around. I can angle him. That's a little bit slow here. One moment. Yeah. Sometimes this program kind of chugs when I'm screen sharing. But yeah, you can kind of angle him. He's probably never going to be at that severe of an angle, but you can do that. Or you can grab his head and kind of give him a little look to the side there.
Oh, right. So you don't have to animate that separately. That'll just happen.
Yeah, and then you can take his big glowing eyes and kind of have him look down, give you.
Have you backed this up on a hard drive?
Yes, I actually have this all backed up on
Good,
Google
because
Drive.
it would be sad to lose this.
Yeah, it was quite a bit of work. I'm not going to lie. And then he's got these coaches back here, and the coaches they're sort of like slightly alive. They're not quite as alive as he is, but they can kind of look around and sort of be aware of their surroundings. So that's kind of fun.
Don't ruin the movie, but there isn't a big train crash in there, is there? Everyone's like, oh, okay, don't tell me. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. You're gonna...
Well, I mean, what would you want to see in a cartoon about trains? It's probably in here somewhere.
I'd like to see Thomas get his fucking comeuppance. What the fuck is... Okay, Thomas the Tank Engine lives on a fucking island. Why does it have such intricate fucking railroad systems? Railroads are for your big places. They live on a little tiny island. Who's like, oh, we got to ship all this stuff to the other side of the pissy little fucking island? You can do it with trucks, people.
I love that you have a rant for everything.
Yeah. The important things.
I remember wondering that as a kid too. Like, wait, how big is that island?
I wondered that as an adult, but yeah, it was the island of Lilliput or something. I don't know, Lilliput.
Sodor.
Sodor, yeah.
Jesus.
I remember I told this story to a friend yesterday. I had the little, die-cast metal Thomas toys when I was like 3-4 years old. Before I was old enough to watch the shorts and understand them, I just knew I liked the train, but I didn't know why it had this weird face on it, and I would try to take off the plastic face. And then when I watched the films, I was like, oh, okay, it's
supposed to be there.
Supposed to be there. But watching the films, they would kind of stage it in a way where it looks like these things are going to look at you and eat you. They're like monsters. And so I wanted to get some of that feeling into this, that monster feel that feels a little bit unintentional in Thomas. It's intentional here.
All right. So who was the voice of Ringo Starr America? Oh, Ringo Starr. There you go. There's the answer.
Ringo Starr.
Ringo Starr did it.
Ringo Starr.
Who did it in America?
Ringo Starr.
Wait.
George Carlin did it in America.
Yeah, it was Carlin.
Did
That's
what?
right.
The voice of Thomas?
Now, the big difference is, so he was like, all right there, Thomas, time to pull into the station. Oh, no, the fat controller. Like that, right? And so over here, you just called him the controller. You didn't want to call him the fat controller because he just looked like every other American. The American controller.
Perfect.
All right. So I hope I've upset some folk. Thanks for being on the podcast, Andrew. We really appreciate it. That was very informative. I think we one of our longest podcasts ever.
Yeah.
We were talking and talking there.
Yeah.
So to our advertisers, pay double. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're ever at a party and someone comes up to you and goes, you know that Oswald the Rabbit was your first animated thing, go, oh, I don't know about that, and then walk away. You go, it's Felix the cat, you dumb cunt. Good night, Australia.